Solution for the NBA to fix its tanking problem. Count wins on Thursday night. The Indiana Pacers will be in the nation's capital to face the Washington Wizards and tip off the NBA's post-All-Star break schedule. It's a game that should be compelling. Ivica Zubac, Indiana's recently acquired starting center, has yet to play a game for the club. The same goes for both of Washington's recent All-Star acquisitions, point guard Trae Young and big man Anthony Davis. Throw in the presence of Pacers All-Star forward Pascal Siakam, and that's a lot of reasons to tune into a game between teams with a combined 29 wins. Instead, Zubac remains out with an ankle injury that was announced by Pacers coach Rick Carlisle after Indiana made the trade, one that didn't prevent him from playing in 15 of 16 games before the LA Clippers dealt him. Young remains sidelined with leg injuries the Wizards diagnosed when they obtained him last month from the Atlanta Hawks, as does Davis with a hand injury he suffered before being acquired from the Dallas Mavericks earlier this month. Meanwhile, later Thursday, the Utah Jazz will visit the Memphis Grizzlies in what would have been a homecoming of Jaren Jackson Jr., who was acquired in a stunning deal by the Jazz ahead of the February 5 trade deadline. Instead, Utah, after playing Jackson in a few games and getting fined $500,000 for its handling of his and Lauri Markkanen's playing time in a contest it won in Miami, shut down Jackson for the season after knee surgery. Both teams now seem invested only in piling up losses through the end of the season. Instead of 2 games with exciting storylines for fans, these are anything but. And it's because these 3 teams, Indiana, Washington and Utah, all have draft picks this year whose value depends on how high they land in May's lottery. And they're not alone, either. That's why, in 2 separate answers about tanking that came up in his annual All-Star Weekend news conference, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said, incentives, 5 different times. The incentives are not necessarily matched here, Silver said. I think the tradition in sports where the worst performing team receives the first pick from their partners, when any economist comes and looks at our system, they always point out, you have the incentives backwards there. That doesn't necessarily make sense. But in truth, it does. Because that's the way the league has incentivized teams in the lottery to behave. Until the league changes the system, an Eastern Conference executive said, teams are going to continue to lose if that's the best way to get players. As a result, any discussion about the topic of tanking, and ways to address it, has to begin with the same question. What solution is there that could change those incentives? What follows is a proposal to fix the NBA's tanking problem from a longtime league executive. In much of the discussion on trying to fix tanking, the focus has been on trying to de-emphasize losing. Each idea, from removing the ability to protect picks in the middle of the draft lottery to abolishing the draft to completely flattening the odds, all would make it less desirable for teams to lose. What none of them do, however, is push them to win. But this plan does. Currently, the order for the NBA draft lottery is determined by which teams have the most losses at the end of the regular season. But consider, at a certain point in the regular season, say, the All-Star break, things would flip, and for the rest of the season a team's wins would go toward improving its lottery odds instead. How would this look in practice? Let's use last season's standings as an example. Here is how last season's lottery standings would have changed if this rule had been in place for games after the All-Star break. Hamare Channel co-subscribe Karna Matt Bull